Welcome. My name is Jason. Today on Red Rock Rebuilds and Adventures, we have a front wheel off of a Massey Harris 101 Junior tractor. And this is a single wheel front tractor. The front hub comes apart in two pieces. You lift the lower half off, then you got the lower half. Looks similar to a front hub on like a pickup or a trailer, but it's actually a split rim. I need to install the bearings, seals, the dust covers, put the new tire on it, get it all back together and install it on the tractor. So I guess we can get started at it. First thing I need to do is get the new wheel bearings and pack them with grease. New wheel bearings. More grease. Okay, now I got that set. Here's what the hub looks like with the bearing in it. Now with the bearings in place, there's actually a dust cover, a dust ring, or I should say a retaining ring that is placed in here. Except the retaining ring is supposed to press in place. It does not, seeing as they've been worn out over the years. So I think I'm going to wrap it with a piece of shim stock to get it to fill up the space, to kind of tap it in place and stay and not move. Problem was before, when they were in there, the dust ring would be in, the retainer would be in there, and then there's another guide that goes in. It's supposed to pivot in there as the wheel goes around. Well, it wasn't. The whole race was spinning in the hub. So I need to fix that. Try this again. Might have the right one now. Perfect, just like that. That's exactly what I was looking for. Bearing is still greased up, not super tight. Everything should be good. So I guess I can flip it over and do the other side now. I bet this hub, this half alone is probably 40 pounds, 30 to 40 pounds. It's not light. All right, now this side, there was a lot of extra play in it, so that's going to take a bigger shim. Meanwhile, I'm going to take the grease that I got and finish greasing the inner side of the hub to prevent corrosion. When I took this thing apart, there was just a massive amount of grease and crud and grime from over the years. It was so hard that I had to chisel it out, the old grease. Hopefully the wheel will actually work a lot better now with the new grease in it, new bearings. I just need to check to make sure I got all areas covered. Hard to see in there because of the not having any light. Meanwhile, here over the last few weeks, I actually took the hub, disassembled everything, and primed and painted the hub. There's a new inner tube, new tire. The original tire on it was very poor condition. It was actually losing air when it was aired up. If you let it sit overnight, it'd be flat by the next day. And I believe it was the original tire still on it. I was lucky enough to find a new direct replacement for it. So it still looks like the old type tire that was on it. Okay, I guess I put it in. I think I'm ready. And simple as that, the bearing is in. Previous, whoever had this apart had this thing just filled full of grease, excessively, I think. And there's no grease or any way to actually grease the thing unless you actually take it apart. So, for what I'm going to use it for, it'll work just fine the way it is. Now I need to set the dust cover in on its opposite side. Possibly I can reuse the thicker shim that I had on the other side. The one that was too thick on the other side. I'm going to need to take it out and trim it down a little bit. It's just a little bit too wide. try that. Now, will the cover fit in there? Well, that's not big enough. It's too thin. So I need to cut a new piece out of a different color material. Shim. Slightly long, but not an issue. Better to be a little bit too long than too short. Okay, here's the other cover. Still not quite enough. Let's try something once. Take the blue one I had and put that one in there also. Because before this cap was turning in there, and that's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be stationary. Well, that's still not quite enough. I think I will cut another piece that's brown and put that in there also. Previously, when this thing was together, it was actually this seal, ring for the seal is actually rotating freely in there, which in turn was actually sanding the hub out every time it went around. So, and the hole got all wobbled out of shape. That's why hopefully this will secure the seal back in. This actually doesn't have rubber seals. This actually has felt seals that go into it. And for what I'm doing, it'll work just fine. I think that will work. Appears to. Let's see. Take the light, shine in to make sure that it's not, the shims that I put in there are not squirted down, which I don't think they are. Down, out of place. I believe that will work. So now the bushings are in, or the bearings are in, and cups for the felt seals, I guess I can proceed with installing the tire. Once the tire is all together, then I can set it up on end and install the axle shaft and the remaining parts. Oh, this is the new tire I have. It's a American Farmer 9x10, 12-ply. This is actually what was on the, very similar to the original tire that was on the tractor, almost identical. Now it's time to get the tube in it, get the boot put on it, and get the rim installed. Let's see. Might as well pull cap off, take the valve core out. And set them aside. Now it's a matter of stuffing the tube into the tire. The tire is very hard since it's a 12-ply tire, so this ought to be interesting. Theory is to get the tube installed and somewhat inflated, and then there's supposed to be a rubber boot that guards the rim from, actually guards the inner tube from rubbing on the rim. I'll have to do that next. First, I guess I want to put some air in this thing, air it up a little bit. Inflate it so it takes shape. Just like that. Meanwhile, here's the original boot that was the liner that was on the rim. As you can see, it's in pretty rough shape. So we're going to ditch this. I actually placed that liner onto the old inner tube, trace a line on it on both sides, and I'm going to cut that out and use that as the liner. As you can see, it still has the valve stem on it. I need to remove that so that the other valve stem can protrude through it. Now the hard part, getting this all tucked back into place. I guess I'll start at the inner tube. Just work my way around. I guess I should try applying a little air pressure. Put a little air in the tube and see what happens. Try and stretch everything back into shape. This is the first time for me, so this is going to be interesting. Matter of trying to get it all worked into place so that the tube doesn't get a hole rubbed into it later down the road. And we're back. Took a little longer to get the boot inside for the inner tube than planned. So I think I got the tire and tube ready, and I'll set it on top of over the hub and see what we come up with here. First thing, I guess I need to get the valve stem lined up before I drop it down all the way. So, tire is on, tube is, I guess, pushed in and about as good as it's going to get. And I need to put a little anti-seize on the rim because the top half of, or this half of the rim slips over the hub, and the inside did not get painted. That's because it's a tight tolerance, and if there was 2 layers of paint on there, I don't think it would have fit together. So I'm going to put a little never seize on that location, try and keep it from rusting, and it should work without making too big of a mess. I just don't want it to be rusted together if I ever have to take it back apart. This is something that I've been looking a lot. Nobody actually has any information on installing the two-piece rim like this. So I thought this might be something that maybe someone might want to see. So here we are. Okay. And this does not, it goes on any position. There's nothing to line it up other than it's an exact fit on the hub, and then the bolts line it up. I bought new grade 8 bolts for this. One, because the existing were not in good shape. I actually had to re-drill one of the hole. I believe there's actually 2 thread inserts I had to install because the threads were boogered up on them, and I was afraid that they weren't going to stay tight. They were stripped enough to where you couldn't tighten them up. It would just slip. So hopefully this helps. Going together way easier than it came apart. I'll say that much. And I still get anti-seize on my fingers. Luckily that's all it is. This stuff is so messy. I don't want to tighten them down super snug. I want to keep everything kind of loose for right now. Just kind of snug it together only, but not torque them down. Meanwhile, these do have to be torqued down before full load gets put on. Otherwise, it could come flying apart, and we don't want that. And as it was, 2 of the screws were stripped on here, and they weren't really holding anything. So I need to check all the way around to make sure the tube is not pinched in between the outer half of the ring that I put on. So, does not appear to be. As you can, if you can't see that, there's actually an MH on here and a part number for original equipment from Massey Harris. need to finish tightening down the 4 bolts that hold the half together in the rim. That will work for right now. Now I try and flip it over and make sure everything's still lined up right. Hopefully the valve stem still lines up correct with the hole. And it got a lot heavier too. I need to put some underneath the valve stem to temp hold it. Oh, I actually need a tire gauge so that I know what pressure I'm at. The tire's seated on the bead on the hub, so I think I'm going to let the air out of it once and then I'll reinflate it just to try and make sure everything is seated correctly with the tube and the liner. I just need to make sure that watch so that the inner tube doesn't drop, the valve stem doesn't fall out of the rim. Otherwise then it'll have to get pitched out, and that's not a lot of fun. This is actually for a tractor that I purchased last year, and I've been slowly, it was partially restored. I've been going through fixing a lot of things on it. For instance, there was a lot of water in the differential. I bet you there was a good 2 to 3 gallons of water over, had the differential filled over full that I had drained out of it. and just going through everything to make it a good running little tractor that I can take to the tractor shows and drive around the yard. Well, all the air is out, and I'll put the core back in. Then I will kind of inspect everything, make sure it all looks like it's in place as much as I can. Then I'll put some more air back in it and proceed with setup here, I guess. Everything appears to be correct, so I guess I can air it up, inflate it, and leave it inflated. It says the max for the tire is 35 psi. I'll probably just go to 20 for right now. And then before I actually install it on the track, I'll check the torque on the bolts to make sure they're all correct. Okay, I think I can leave it at that for now. I was worried that the stem on the inner tune was going to be too long. By initially measuring it, it seemed like it was sticking up past the side of the hub. But after having it in there, it's actually just about right. The old tube that was in there, the valve stem was down very low, which made it hard to inflate it. So I guess next step is to set it up on the wheel chock here and finish assembling it. As I said, this is very heavy. I bet you it's got to be 100 pounds at least with the tire. There, that actually sits pretty good. I got the tire all set, and I can start work on the axle. I'll just grease it up and put it together, I guess. Now I go to the other side. There. Axle is in place. I need to grease everything. Now I can install the felt washers. That would be felt washers, then I would say the spindle spacer maybe. To put the load on the bearings and to keep everything tight. Maybe it's the thrust bearing, maybe, I don't know. Put some more grease in on top of the felt washers because we don't want them to be dry, otherwise they'll wear out very quickly. Slide it together and see what happens. That should push right into the felt washers, which I believe it did. And then that peg actually aligns with a part on the tractor, and this actually stays stationary, and so does the axle. Everything else will rotate then when it's assembled. Now to the other side. Grease. Which I already have. Push the felt seals in. Apply some more grease. Apply some grease to the retainer. this together also. That's on there. This actually would slip on there, and then the nut goes on. Everything appears to be together correctly. And I think it's complete now until I get it installed. Well, good morning again. Today we're going to install the front wheel on the Massey Harris 101 Junior tractor. We'll get the front of the tractor jacked up, take all the blocks out, and then we will roll the wheel underneath and we'll get it hooked up. I just need to verify it's not going to slip off of the jack, which that should all be good by the looks of it. Now we'll pull the blocks out of the way. Okay, so right now I'm going to loosen up the spindle nuts most of the way without taking them off. Looks like I need to jack it up a bit higher. Now there is an alignment pin underneath that has to get lined up with here in the groove. There's one on each side on that collar. I just need to get them spun around so they're at the bottom, and then I can proceed with lining everything up. Okay, I think I got it close. So now I can gently drop everything in place. I just need to verify that the alignment peg is at the bottom. Now, I'll take the nut off so you can see. This washer is actually offset. And I believe it's offset, the notch has to be at the bottom. Looks like I need to go down a little bit farther. Just like that. The alignment peg is at the bottom, out of the way. And we'll screw the nut on just to hold it all together for right now. Now we'll go around to the other side, do the same thing. Pull the nut off so we can see where we're at. Looks like we need to go down a little bit. Just like that. It's together. Now we can install the axle nut. The axle nut is a 2-inch nut. Now it's a matter of tightening everything down so it's in place. And I think I got this side screwed on too far. So I'll kind of guess at it. And I do know if I go too tight, the notches on the castle nut for the axle will not allow for the cotter pin to access them, so it won't lock it in place. Everything spins. There's about 2 threads showing on each side. All the pieces seem to be in place properly where they're supposed to be. Let's see if I can tighten it up just a little bit more. Okay, that's a little bit tighter, and I still got access for that. Let's try one more notch. And remember, this does have new wheel bearings in it. By the looks of it, I think the original, one of the originals fell apart at one time and then it had to be replaced. Which is probably why there was some damage that I noticed to the housing. Well, I guess we'll try that for right now and see how it works. Here's one. Let's see. Put that on this way so I can get on the tab. And that, my friends, that would be how to install a single front wheel on a antique tractor. Now it should be ready to go for the summer. There's a few other things I need to check, but it should be a lot of fun.